It's a pleasure now to be joined by the Executive Director of Hoopfest, Riley Stockton. It's that time of year where we wake him up, we bring him in, and you'll be seeing a lot of him as we gear up for the 36th year of the world's biggest 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And year 5 for you as Executive Director.
Year 5, once the sun comes out, I start to, get the cobwebs off.
To thaw.
And get ready. Yeah.
Before we get into all that we got to talk about for Hoopfest this year, let's talk about your role as Executive Director. What do you think the biggest thing you've learned about what it takes to be the Executive Director, put on this unbelievable event is? What have you learned the most in 5 years?
Yeah, it's the importance of getting stuff done as early as you can. Even if everything goes perfect, when you get to June, just by the nature of everybody turning their attention to you, just the increase of workload. So our staff is very hard at work, February, March, April, in trying to make sure we get all of our stuff done so that when that time comes where everybody needs stuff, we can help them and assist them in the best way possible. So we get a little better each year at that. And then the other thing is I'm just a lot more comfortable in the role. The first couple years, there was, just some pressure and making sure it comes back after COVID. And it feels like Hoopfest. And now that I've been through it a couple years, you kind of know what to expect. The good, the bad, and kind of the magic behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard him talk about doing stuff as early as possible. Registration is open right now. We'll get to that in a minute. But we had at the Hoopfest tip-off party, we got to reveal the poster this year. And obviously, if you haven't seen it, we'll throw it up on the screen. The poster this year features, an out-of-this-world candidate, if I can make a cheeky pun real quick. But Anne McLean, I mean, take us through the decision to go with the space theme, reaching out to Anne McLean and getting all that set up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a year-long process to get to it. We try to start working on the poster almost as soon as Hoopfest is done, just because it takes so much time to get these people with their busy schedules on our poster. And so she is a name we had circled for almost a couple years now. And I just think she highlights the greatness of what you can do when you're from this area. And it doesn't have to be basketball,
Right.
Doesn't have to be sports, but you can excel in your field no matter what that field is, with the resources and stuff that we have here in Spokane. And so, what I talked to you a little bit offline about it, but our goal is to get it up in every school so people can see, hey, I'm from Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho, wherever, I can be an astronaut. It's not an unintentional goal. And so, we had a board member that knew her pretty well. And so we got in contact with her, and she could not have been more supportive of the idea, more excited. And really, we were the ones that felt so honored to have her on our poster. Again, not a lot of times you can have an astronaut from the city that's also played in your event.
That's literally, I made this joke at the tip-off party. The Venn diagram of people who have played in Hoopfest and also been to outer space cannot be that big. We know there's at least one though with Anne McLean. Countdown is on. It will be here before we know it, and registration is open right now, SpokaneHoopfest.net. Obviously, go sign up your team because, again, that guaranteed registration date sneaks up on you. So you want your best chance to get your team and all your players out on the court. You got to go now.
Yeah, well, and I think it's just important to kind of find those teammates, especially if you have one or two guys to get going now to find those teammates. It's just harder to come by once you get into the crunch time. And like you said, the guaranteed deadline is that. It's that kind of that first stoppage where we can kind of reconvene, see where we're at, and see if we do want to add more teams. Most of the time we do, but it is good to just get it in before that.
And the other thing that we need, because we cannot have it without them, is the volunteers. And if you don't want to be a court monitor, first off, being a court monitor, I think, has got to be one of the most fun jobs. I mean, it's definitely demanding with all you have to do, but it's got to be a lot of fun, especially if you like just getting out there and watching.
It's a hard job for sure, but I don't think I hear from any volunteers more than the monitors and just how rewarding it is. And that gives you the full Hoopfest experience. It gives you the laughs of great, funny plays. It gives you the successes that teams feel, and at the end of the weekend, you realize that you were a huge part of what we pulled off I say it every year, we're a staff of 7. So without these volunteers, we just can't do it. And so, yeah, court monitors obviously our biggest need, but you can only do shift volunteers or you can only do part of the weekend. We have spaces.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if maybe court monitor is a bit too much for someone to bite off. What are maybe some of the other roles that a volunteer who maybe have never done it, they said I want to volunteer, but I don't have a specific job or role that I want to do. How wide ranging is what a volunteer does?
Extremely wide ranging. We probably the most common misconception is that you need to know basketball. But we have volunteers that run our store. So they're working on cash registers. We have score inputs. So those are the people that are taking the score sheets and putting them up on our app and our website. That's an indoor job all weekend. And so there's a variety of different outlets. All of them you can find on SpokaneHoopfest.net with kind of a description of what it is. But don't think that you have to know basketball to be a volunteer for us. And then there's some where it's distributing equipment and logistics around, the site. And so there's a lot of different volunteer opportunities that are both indoors, outdoors, shifts, all weekend long that you can.
All right, so we know that you and your staff work literally year round. As soon as Hoopfest 1 year is done, you start working on the next year. But from now, this kind of first weeks of April to the last weekend in June, how fast do things get compressed, and how much does it really ramp up for you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty exponential from this point till we get to June. When we get to May, more people are working on the weekends. More people are just trying to find that extra time to get things done. And then when we hit June, it's kind of, all guns are firing at that point. We're trying to get as much done as we can, as quickly as we can, um, just because there's so much that comes in, and we don't know what's going to change from the external uh, pressures, if you will, from that point forward. And so it is a lot. But truthfully, it's kind of why you sign up to work at Hoopfest.
Right.
If you don't like this time, if you aren't, the word I always use in the office is calm in a storm. If you aren't calm in a storm, you probably wouldn't work out at Hoopfest, because that's what it kind of turns into be. But, our staff is great. We are ready for it. We have basically all returning staff. And so it's just an exciting time.
We'll sleep in July and August.
Yeah, that 4th of July weekend is great for everybody. But we love Hoopfest, and we can't wait to do it again in downtown.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. Again, SpokaneHoopfest.net right now. Sign up to be a team. Sign up to be a volunteer, a court monitor if you've never done it before. Take a chance, take a risk, as it's volunteers that make this this weekend go round for the 36th year. And Riley Stockton, of course, your job as Hoopfest Executive Director, and plays a big role in that as well. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Austin.